I'm Casey Viera. Listen, I know Locked On Spurs since the playoffs started. We've had the privilege of reaching a real expanded base all across the world. So I start tonight with my condolences for our Egyptian fans out there, because between what happened in the NBA Finals and between what happened today against Argentina, my friends, you guys have had a very, very rough couple of weeks.
I'm Matthew Tynan. Do you not feel sorry for us? For ourselves? for looking terrible
Fair.
against Belgium after that, just all the hubbub about getting Balogun back? All right, yes, no, I obviously feel bad for Egypt. That was rough, but we're going to try to pick up your spirits right now.
And I'm Devin Brown. We got Matt, we got Casey. I wanted to go on a soccer theme, but I'll save it for the broadcast. Guys, let's have a great show.
This is Locked On Spurs Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Spurs talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game. The way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Spurs Squad Show starts now.
It does, and tonight we're brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get in on the fun. Get in on Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/locked on. Welcome into the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs. Of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You know it as the #1 sports podcast network in the world. The host of the title pod, Matthew Tynan, the man in the middle, Devin Brown, NBA champ, of course, right here screen. I am merely Casey Viera. We have a lot of fun stuff to hit on tonight, despite being in the slow of the offseason. It never really slows down for us, because we're going to, I guess, revisit the idea of reuniting potentially the Spurs with an old friend, DeMar DeRozan, back on the free agent market. Is it worth San Antonio kicking the tires? Maybe play a little bit of rapid fire along the way. Not maybe, we will. Get our thoughts about this offseason as a whole, what's worked, what hasn't, some knee-jerk reactions, plus the thought of a Greg Popovich biopic. Which Oscar-nominated actor is already hoping to advocate for the position? But we start tonight with a guy who's quite the showman himself, Victor Wembanyama. Yesterday, Monday, the 6th, officially becoming extension eligible, which means that $250+ million are on the table. Could reach incentivized up to $300 million, assuming he does his job on the good side of things and hits the accolades he wants to do exactly that. It has not been signed yet. They haven't reached a middle ground yet. It feels like it's all just a formality, understandably so. But now the question is, one, I guess, when will it happen? We would think, hey, maybe by the end of this program. It's going to happen sooner before later, we would think, at least. And two, what that kind of means for the wallet, the pay scale, so to speak, the bigger picture, so to speak, going forward for this Spurs team. But I want to pose the question to you guys before we get into the books, because when that lottery ball hit around this time, a little over 3 years ago, we all kind of hypothesized of many great days that would be ahead for the San Antonio Spurs. And I ask you both this question. Devin, you'll hit lead off, Tynan, and hop in after that. Did you ever imagine that year 3 we would be having the conversations that we're having right now about the Victor Wembanyama era?
Yeah, of course. I mean, once he, they found him, whoever did, international scouts, NBA scouts, whatever, and it just seemed like there was a destiny that was going to be there for San Antonio. You knew the two were going to meet up at some point, being that Victor was obviously a huge Tony Parker fan, and to actually have him here and gone through a couple of seasons, being able to watch him, this being my first full season. I don't know what's the holdup. I don't know if we're on our side scared to get on a plane and go to France, or waiting for him to come back, or what, but the deal's going to get done. A guy like this, you expect him to be in a Spurs jersey, the next 20 years. So Victor's done a great job. The Spurs have done a great job thus far building around him. And it's just going to be a matter of when they put the pen to paper, in my eyes, Matt.
Oh, yeah. This isn't something that, they're probably and Victor is kept well aware of everything that's going on. Who knows where Victor is in the world right now, what fashion show he's attending, what, what sporting events he's visiting. Like, who knows? He's kind of out there doing his thing. The deal will get done. It might also be kind of one of those things where San Antonio's brass is kind of making sure they got everything lined up and taken care of before they start going into the working with Victor on an extension. But it's mostly a formality at this point. Like Casey said at the top, basically all he has to do is play 65 games, because if he plays 65 games, that dude is going to be on an All-NBA team. He's probably going to be Defensive Player of the Year again. So it's all but locked up, which is crazy to say that he's all but locked up to be a super max player, that 300 million plus. That part, Casey, I guess it's not necessarily surprising, because coming into the NBA, this guy was genuinely we toss the generational prospect thing around all the time. He genuinely was that, in particular on the defensive side of the ball. So the full max isn't necessarily surprising. The fact that we're already here, where it's like, is he just going to repeat as Defensive Player of the Year over and over again? Is he going to be a shoe-in for All-NBA over and over and over again? The fact that he's already eligible for the highest possible max for his extension and not just the normal max, which is around 250, maybe that part is a little bit whew, he really took off, man. This guy is incredible. Maybe that part is a little bit surprising, but certainly not the element of it where he's this max player already heading into season 4. They got a whole summer to get it done. They'll get it done.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me most through these first 3 years, him individually as a player, not really. I think we kind of knew early on it was going to be as advertised within the first couple months of the season. But once they tinkered things around him. And of course, even today, still a very much a work in progress type deal. To see the things that he's doing at this level through 3 years, I don't think that was particularly surprising to me, because I figured we'd be having conversations after year 3 that he would be a top 5, top 3 player in the league. What has surprised me is the sustained success that the team has had. And maybe that's Victor. Maybe that's more so a testament to the front office doing things. I was not, nor was, I would think, anybody anticipating, I'm not going out on a limb here, anticipating this season 60-plus wins as a whole. No kidding. But what I think is even more kind of resonates with me is that his impact on the franchise as a whole, and it feels like the sense of putting an accountability on them to win now. And that's something that really hadn't been there for who knows how long. And his impact doing that, his ability to have that done successfully, to get those pieces put around him. Some of it was luck. They did their job hitting on Stephon Castle, him being there. It was a little bit of luck getting Dylan Harper. Say what you want about Fox, but they heisted their way into that trade as well. They've seen the emergence of Champagny and Keldon, at least during the regular season last year. So that's certainly a testament as well. But I think the on the court win-loss marks success that they did currently, are having, I did not see happening this time 3 years ago. But here we are. And as a result, that's why he's about to become an even wealthier young man. But building around this even forward, because he's going to hit every single benchmark or close to, and we're going to near that $300 million mark by the time the extension runs out or towards the back. You know what I'm getting at. Where are we feeling, fellas, collectively about this roster construction at the moment? Because the financial flexibility is there. We know that, with all these guys being on the rookie second-year scale, third-year scale guys with Castle a couple years away from an extension. But going forward, do you both feel like this, at the moment, they can come back and confidently not only be in this contention window 60-plus years next year, but for the duration of this $300 million that they're going to kick in at the start of 28.
I mean, as long as Victor's around, right? Then you are in contention. He is the linchpin, and this we just saw what happened with Boston. We just saw the ramifications of getting over that second apron, and it's not unique to Boston, just like it wasn't unique to Golden State when they had to do it. It's not going to be unique to San Antonio whenever they start approaching that number, and they're going to have to make decisions. Granted, we don't know what a Steph Castle contract is going to look like. An extension is going to look like next summer. We don't know what a Dylan Harper contract extension is going to look like 2 summers from now. But this is the reason why San Antonio has been so steadfast over the last several years in collecting draft assets, collecting picks, because they know, should everything pan out, that they're going to need them. They're going to need them to bring in the reinforcements, the young reinforcements to help Wemby, so that something that, just happened to Giannis, for instance, in Milwaukee, doesn't happen, where they ran out of talent, essentially, and they no longer had the draft picks to spend on anybody else. They don't want that to happen to Victor in San Antonio. So right now, look, maybe who knows what's going to happen with the collective bargaining agreement. I think right now it's working exactly the way the NBA has intended it. It's curbing owners spending. It's increasing parity around the league. I think that there are a lot of justifiable complaints about it from the players, from the fans, everybody. But like the sort of cold hard truth of the matter is, the NBA they put that thing in place for a reason, and they love the effects it's already having. So at this point, at least, San Antonio and its fans are going to have to come to grips with the fact that somewhere along the line in the next several years, they're going to lose some guys. It's just kind of the nature of the business as it stands right now. But as long as they got Victor in tow, as long as they're able to execute their draft strategies well, and along with their free agent spending with like mid-level exception type stuff that we just saw spent on Tobias Harris, they should be all right, Devin.
Yeah, so, the number one is getting Victor locked up, right? And we know that's going to happen anytime now. But just where basketball is going in general, and I know you're talking about the extension with the league and things like that, but when you look around, you appreciate what Castle and Harper are doing now, but what about what's going to happen in the next few years with these younger players coming in? I don't know if y'all are paying attention. I know you guys are. I'm talking more about our audience. I don't know if you guys are paying attention to what that young man Patterson's doing in the summer league, but he looks poised. He looks like an NBA vet out there playing. Well, guess what? There's going to be more of these type guys coming behind him. So the Spurs being able to have these draft picks and things like that, and like I said, Castle and Harper are nice players, but when you sit in a room with him, you start talking about contracts, everybody becomes sharks on both sides. So you want to keep players like that, but number one, you got to lock Victor up. They're going to do that, and at the end of the day, you're always going to be able to put other players around Victor that Victor's going to make them look good no matter who that is.
I'm interested because
real quick, I wanted to ask Devin, like, how did that work with Tim? Because it was pretty similar to Tim, right? It's like, along the way, you just got to go out and get the right vets to put around him.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is, that Tim's going to be on the left block or the right block. And when he kicks it out, you got to be able to knock down shots. And then they went from there.
Okay.
Hey, so then the crazy thing about that is you throw a Manu in there, and Manu is this Swiss Army knife. He's inside, he's outside. He's doing these things that keeps the fans involved. Now, did Pop love all that all the time? I'm here to answer. No, he did not. But did he appreciate what Manu brought to the table at the end of the day? Yes, he did.
What do you got? I'm just kind of thinking about this out loud because the next 2 guys you'll have to pay is Castle. This time next year, we're going to be having these conversations about how much money he's owed, and then Dylan Harper 2 years from now, of course, now going into his sophomore season. So I'm thinking more so on the Castle aspect of it. Admittedly, I don't know and it's of course contingent on how these next 2 years go. I mean, Castle could bottom out and the accolades that he would be eligible for are not there. But for the sake of the conversation, let's say it's like $180 million extension that he'd be eligible for. That would be the max, the max he would be, eligible for. Do you feel like
it'll be more than that?
I was gonna say I'm trying to be diplomatic a little bit because I think it'll be more. So I guess we'll call it probably 2. We'll say 2.
The literal max that he'd be eligible for, just the normal max, is going to be like I need to go back and make sure I have this right, but I think it is at the very least north of 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a big extension.
So let's say we'll just say it's 2. How far do you think it gets in the conversation that they would be willing to go the extension of that, assuming that Castle does his part, or do you think it's a foregone conclusion that they would max him and they would hit him at that 2 mark? Presumably that's what it is.
I mean, sorry to just jump in first, Devin.
No,
you're
good.
It's kind of one of these things. And by the way, that extension would be like $250 million. So it would be similar to what Victor would do if he didn't get Defensive Player of the Year or All NBA. Like same contract extension. If you're giving the max, like what Steph Castle is eligible all the way up to, just so long as he doesn't get Defensive Player of the Year or All NBA, like it would be $250 million.
Even at 4, even the
4 years
for that extent.
So you get 5 years with your second deal, just right. Like so. Victor's would be, if he makes gets all the accolades, he's going to be 5 years, $300+ million.
Oh no! Sorry, no. What I'm saying is that pay scale would be the same even at pick 4 as opposed to.
Oh yeah,
it would still be the same.
The salary slot that you're in doesn't have any, like, especially with first rounders, doesn't have anything to do with it. It's literally once you get into the second contract, you are the max from there for a non-All NBA guy is 25% of the cap. So over the 5 years, it would be $250 million.
There we go. Okay.
But it's kind of one of those things where, up to that point, and slowly but surely things are changing in the NBA because teams simply cannot do the thing where it's like, okay, you're sort of a high mid-level player, but you're the best player on our team. We got to pay it all to you right now. Teams are feeling the pressure to not do that anymore, to cost control because of how damaging it can be to the cap because of the apron penalties that I talked about. So who knows where those types of negotiations would go. But the reality is, if you get to that point, pretty much I don't expect a drop off from Steph Castle. He hasn't demonstrated any sort of hint or indication that there will be. Just especially considering the way he plays on both sides of the ball, it kind of feels difficult to imagine that happening. But let's just say he continues on this upward trajectory. You pretty much don't have much choice but to pay him and maintain that asset. You know what I mean? Because if you just lose him for nothing, then all of that, or you run the risk of losing him for nothing, then all of the they hate the word, but it is what they did. The tanking that occurred is all for naught, and you lose it. And you got to be able to maintain your assets. And for whatever it's worth, his contract, by the time, especially those second-year guys, and in particular, if he is not an All-NBA player, if he is not Defensive Player of the Year for 2 straight years, those are the 2 different benchmarks he would have to hit or at least one of those benchmarks he would have to hit to get the super, super duper max. As long as he doesn't hit that, then as crazy as it sounds, $250 million is a contract that is movable at some point if you absolutely must. But they're very quickly, it's going to be here before you know it. Even as the cap goes up, they're going to be put in spots that are going to be difficult to deal with financially. It's coming, and good on them for at least being good enough now to challenge for a title, because it's going to get tougher as the years go by.
One of the things with him looking, forward to next year, there are some questions because there were a couple of games there in the playoffs in high leverage games with a 1 of 10, six or seven turnovers. He's going to have to reverse that.
Yeah.
So I think, when you look at his plate going into next year, as good as the Spurs were and as good as he was all year, there's some questions there that you're going to have to answer. And to me, maybe I'm being old school right now, but like when you start talking about these numbers and the max and things like that, I feel like the Spurs want him to answer some of these questions before they throw that type of money at him.
I agree.
Now, he's going to deserve it, yes, but in the end, is he the right guy to lead this ship with Victor? And so I think those are some of the questions that he's going to ask himself or is asking himself, and the Spurs are going to ask him along the way as well.
So you think about it and it's a little bit different because at that rate, you already would have paid Fox a halfway decent amount. But you think about the deals collectively, you're looking at realistically close to 300 for Victor, 250 for Castle, 250 for Harper, and then whatever the math equates to by year 4, what you would have left for Fox. But there you go though, right? But that's why you deal with these cost-friendly contracts. That's why you sign all these guys to 2-year deals to not worry about it by the time they hit the meat of these extensions kick in. That's why you keep all the draft assets.
Well, and the other that's why you keep all the draft assets, but also we don't know yet, like as I said, I think that there has been a slight change where guys are taking like a little bit less than the max. They're saying, "Hey, look, this is a whole lot of money. I'll take that." And if there is anywhere along the way, whether it's from Victor, whether it's from Steph, and Devin's right, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here when it comes to talking about these guys in terms of max players. Like, we'll see if they get there. They have a great chance to, because that's just what the NBA is. These kinds of guys get paid. But we don't know for sure yet if anyone along the way is going to be able to take a little bit less. They're going to be over the cap the whole time. Yeah. Now, will there be any money saved to keep them below the aprons, particularly the second apron? Like, that's where all the damage is done. Mm-hmm. So if that, we still don't know. Like, it's possible, but Devin could speak to this more as well. Like, players union, they don't want their players taking less because they don't want any sort of precedent set in any capacity of like some star being like, no, I'll take less to help the team.
It'll destroy everything.
Yep. So, players union doesn't want it, so it's a stretch to not take ownership's money, man.
Yeah, like I probably shouldn't say this, but like. When you look at it and you saw that Donovan Mitchell got his extension today.
Yeah.
On one side, you go, congratulations, there you go, this and that. And on the other side, like the competitor, and you go, what's going on? Like, what's going on? Like, you see what I'm getting at? Like, what a guy like that, okay, Cleveland finishes in the top 5 every year. And when he was in Utah, he was an all-star, things like that. And it's like, I'm gonna stop there. It just all right. Congratulations.
Well, and then 4 for 273 is the deal. Yeah, 4 for 273, and then it doesn't help the case that the guy who won the championship this year, and Jalen Brunson, he
took giant pay cuts.
Took giant pay cuts.
Whatever it was, 150 or whatever it was. So, I don't know. Either way.
Yep.
All right, DeMar DeRozan, he will probably have to take a little bit of a pay cut if he comes to San Antonio.
Well, he's paid. That man's paid.
And that's
he's waived. He's waived, but that contract is guaranteed.
I was going to say.
He's paid.
Not that it's a concern because he's going to be on Sacramento's books for all of this season. They're the meat of it. But hey, maybe a vet minimum is a little bit of a pay cut because they have the mid-levels out there. Some teams do. Could that be an option for the Spurs, a reunion here in the Alamo City? We'll hit on it with our old buddy DeMar back on the market, coming up on the other side of the break right here on the Spurs Squad Show on Locked On Spurs. But also want to Remind you tonight, of course, about our friends over there at Odoo, our title sponsor this evening. And as you know, running a business, it should not feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together to begin with. That's where Odoo comes in. It's an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of things together, all of it on one platform. Sales, accounting, inventory, marketing, everything is in one place, and it helps your team move faster, more organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. That's what it's all about, right? And one thing that really stands out is how this organization gets everyone pulling in the same direction with the right things you needed to do, the tough decisions that need to be made. Sometimes it's the simple things. You just need it all to add up to get the job done. It's kind of like one great player, one great coach. Just need that one aspect to coordinate the consistent effort, and next thing you know, you got a championship. So great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try it for free today. odoo.com/lockedon. Also want to remind you guys about our pals. Yeah, well, I guess the pals, the Locked On Spurs Everydayer Club pals, they're there. They can vouch for it. Locked On Spurs, we got the Everydayer Club for you. It gets you ad-free audio, access to members-only Discord chats, and a whole lot more, built for the most loyal of Spurs fans that you guys are. LockedOnPodcast.com/Everydayer Club for more information. All right, gentlemen, I have a question for you. When I show you this image, that for those of you who are in the listening audience, it's DeMar DeRozan circa like 2019 with Coach Pop, full-suited Coach Pop. So I guess 2019. What comes to mind? Of course, DeMar playing a handful of years here, the centerpiece of the Kawhi Leonard trade, in which San Antonio got back in return. Ultimately, 3 kind of inconsequential seasons, 1 playoff berth before he departed for Chicago in the summer of 21-22. So yes, I will elaborate off that question that I pivot to you guys. Does that optics of DeMar DeRozan in a Spurs uniform once again fit with this team, Devin Brown?
Well, when I look at that image, I'm going to answer your first question. I say neither one of them is going to be on the sideline unless Mitch changes his hair. But no, DeMar, he's a great player, but you're talking about a fit in San Antonio? No. Like, I appreciate the mid-range. That was my game, mid-range. But no, not with where this team's going, not with the offense that I saw last year, not with, all these questions about how does he fit in with, Wemby and things like that. No, DeMar needs the ball in his hand, modeled his game after Kobe, did a dang good job of it. He's had a heck of a career, but as far as playing in San Antonio, nah, I just think that the way the Spurs space the floor and get up and down, Matt, I just don't see that happening again.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to go back to Casey's first question too before I get on that one, but that image reminds me, that was my first year back in San Antonio covering the Spurs for The Athletic, and I wanted to say, like, not only was, as Devin said, DeMar is like one of the more underrated players in a long time, specifically because he came up during the analytics age that really didn't like the way he played with a lot of the mid-range stuff, but he was so good at it and so efficient with it that he sort of transcended that analytics bubble. He was such a difficult fit in terms of, like Devin said, he kind of just always had to have the ball in his hand, and he didn't have necessarily the right team around him. With the Spurs, he came with the unenviable task of having to replace Kawhi Leonard through no control of his own, shipped out of Toronto, did not expect it, came to San Antonio, and just sort of basketball playing aside, as a human, I thought he was awesome in San Antonio. He was a great locker room dude. I thought that he really, and he credits Pop with a lot of this over the years, really came into his own as like a complete player, because he was like the majority of the time was a scorer while he was in Toronto. In San Antonio, he turned into sort of a complete package in terms of not just the scoring, but also the playmaking out of that, being the guy with the ball in his hands. And I just thought that he really did a great job embracing a difficult situation, didn't complain a single time. Talk to media after every single game, every single low light. Like, he was a true pro when he arrived in San Antonio, and for that I give him a ton of credit. And look, he wanted to go try to win, and they got him to Chicago. It was a win-win situation for everybody. But yeah, as it pertains to now, like, this team is already sort of set up in a way that just doesn't offer it's not an environment necessarily that's conducive to allowing DeMar to do his thing. And I also think that it would be a disservice both to him and to the Spurs at this stage of his career to put him in that position, and not just that, but to put your young guys in that same position. This is not a negative on DeMar whatsoever. No indictment at all. It's just a different. Everybody's in a different stage in their time in the NBA, and it's just not the time anymore. But shout out to DeMar DeRozan. Really, really appreciated him, and still do as a player. Really appreciated him as a person when he was here in San Antonio.
18 points a night last year for Sacramento on just about 50% shooting in 77 games in his age 36 season. Yeah. For all those things you said, I would love to see DeMar DeRozan, the person, back in town, because very rarely and as we've unfortunately learned, very rarely do athletes go up there and take every question on the off nights until, no one's got anything left to ask. And he did that because there were a lot of lousy days. There were a lot of lousy days for DeMar, especially those latter two seasons that DeMar was here. And he stood there. He took every single question, waited till everybody was done, was always respectful and gave mindful answers, things like that. And for that, I would love to see DeMar DeRozan back in town as the person, as the player, as the schematical fit. As for the 32% shooting from deep on a team that's been largely inconsistent, for a team that needs to have another ball-dominant player, or would need to have another ball-dominant player in the equation, the fit won't work.
Also, he's just a slow-it-down type of player.
And he's a half-court guy, right? I mean, he's just kind of a half-court guy. He gets in those spots. He operates in the same area where Victor is. Now, mind you, we say all these things, and that's another boost to have off the bench, especially when we saw in a playoff series where the offense did stagnate at times, so that can't hurt. But if you do bring him in, I feel like that's almost kind of a deal where you have to have something that's almost DeMar-centric out there with the way that he plays. And at that point, it's just kind of like the return on investment, Devin. It's a lot to ask for a eighth guy in the rotation. That's too condescending.
Yeah.
Let me correct maybe a sixth or a seventh guy in the rotation.
No, yeah, I like where you're going with that, eighth or ninth guy. Like, it makes me think about like a Kyle Lowry, what he was doing with Philadelphia. A lot of people, don't appreciate that, but I appreciate it from the vet side, because he's the voice that VJ Edgecombe, between them and the coaches, that'll understand when he's taking bad shots in the playoffs and they have a 3-1 lead, things like that. And I started thinking about something, because you brought up a great point, Casey, as far as, remember, Keldon struggled. Harrison Barnes was getting spot minutes. So if you bring a DeMar DeRozan in and pay him around the $8 million or whatever it is he's looking for 1 year, if that does happen, well, what are you saying about Carter Bryant? What are you saying about re-signing Harrison Barnes? You're kind of throwing those guys under the bus. So I wouldn't put, like you said, Matt, anybody in that predicament. Now, will it help your locker room? Yes, and I'm all about, because when we won the championship in '05, we had a very competitive locker room 1 through 15. Does it help you in that sense? Yes. But as far as the things that you're saying, you're talking about having, for DeMar to get minutes, you're talking about 3 or 4 guys playing bad in a single night, and that's unlikely going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if he's like, look, I don't even want to play anymore. I want to come on and be that vet. Yeah, I already got my contract. Sacramento's paying it. Just give me the vet minimum. I'll roll in. But DeMar wants to play still. He's still got something left to do, some stuff left to accomplish. Like Casey rattled off his numbers a second ago. He's still scoring efficiently in the NBA. So I can't imagine that he wants to come in and be, Udonis Haslem at the end of his Miami career or anything like that.
Hey, Matt, and to your point, he wears Kobe's. So there ain't no way that's happening.
No, he's playing. He's putting shots up. He's putting shots up.
Exactly. That man's trying to extend a legacy. He's not going to come here trying to be an assistant coach.
No.
A lot of chatter right now that he's actually thinking about a Toronto reunion, which of course
that'd be fun, man. Go back to Toronto.
Yeah, he's got a lot of making up to do with Drake. If you heard that album,
well,
he got a lot of making up to do.
He showed up in K-Dot's music video, man. Like
he's got a lot of making up to do, Matt.
Yeah,
get him back to Toronto. We all want that.
Whether there was really a whole lot of fire to that smoke. Yeah, I guess we'll let Drake determine that one. So to speak. fit there. There's chatter about, and then the fit in Miami potentially, which would be really interesting because I don't know who's going to shoot that 3 ball on that team with.
It's going to be a lot of dunks.
And even if LeBron comes into the equation, I mean,
oh my goodness,
I mean, you're just going to have Tim Hardaway Jr. spacing the floor with 4 guys just taking up every.
Like I said, man, like I said when we talked about the Golden State thing, I just want to see the Expendables somewhere. I just want to see one of these teams, just all the old dudes get together for one last run. Whether that's in Miami or Golden State or Toronto or wherever.
Hey,
I just want to see it.
They're gonna sell out. They're gonna sell out, right?
Oh,
they're gonna sell out. The fans are gonna be ready for it.
Of course.
The problem is they're not gonna play every night.
That's right. They're gonna take.
There's no way.
They're gonna take turns. They're just gonna take turns.
Yeah. They're gonna have some road matches in wherever next year, and those fans are gonna be very disappointed because those old guys are gonna get tired.
Second night of a back-to-back.
Exactly.
They're waiting on the victory lap tour, and they're going to get Podziemski shooting the ball 25 times.
Yeah,
25 times.
while Bron and Curry just sitting on the side. Hey, you guys are still thinking before we move on, Golden State or Cleveland, either or there?
It feels like Miami has really entered that chat, but just the reporting that I've seen, it just feels like the vibes have shifted toward Cleveland. That's what it maybe. That would be crazy. Philly really loaded up, huh?
Yeah,
they really loaded up.
I'll tell you
talking
what,
about
teams,
aprons. There you go. Yeah.
Obviously LeBron has set a bar. He has set a bar, but the thing about it is it's a lot, and I talked about it before. That is a presence that you're going to have in your locker room that you're going to have to deal with those other players, and I think teams are realizing that is a huge presence. So wherever he does end up going, just know that whole dynamic's going to change because all this talk about LeBron playing off the ball. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know if y'all watched him.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Okay. The man is an enterprise. But hey, the Spurs were on Rich Paul's dry erase board. For whatever that
they
were on the outside. They were on the outside of the
Rich Paul was just playing games.
Politicking.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
You know how excited those teams were when they saw their names?
Oh my God, we're on the board. The Mavs are like, yeah, we got oil.
Yeah.
We got oil in golf. Cleveland's like, we got golf too. Hey, we got golf too.
I'll give credit to LeBron, man. He finds new ways to keep this interesting. 41,
yes, sir.
41 years old, and he's
oldest
got his
player in the league, man, and we're still paying attention. Crazy.
And he's got his agent going up there with the oldest tools in the book.
Whiteboard.
A whiteboard from Office. Hey,
Yep,
a
and a
whiteboard
pointer.
from Office Depot.
Yep. Devin's even got that. We've even used that, the dry erase board.
I do have it. I do.
Yeah. Yep. Rich Paul, taking a page out of your book.
You know,
all right. Tynan's got. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Someone in the comics said "Le Tactics." That's good. That's good. Boris Diaw, sommelier. Shout out. All right. Let's play a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction on the other side of the break. Some off-season rapid fire. We'll hit on LeBron. Maybe I'll throw LeBron one in there. Not planning to be a subject matter, but I'll hit a couple guys with some quick hitters, see what they think. We'll talk about that coming up on the other side of the break, right here on the Spurs Squad Show on Locked On Spurs. Hey, but let's, in the meantime, make sure you get that job that you've had sitting out there for who knows how long that listing's been up there. Going to get it filled, because support for today's episode comes from Indeed Sponsored Jobs, because when workplace chaos hits, they're going to help you connect with employers and candidates and the ones who matter, and finds just the simple things sometimes, just the bare necessities, skills, certifications, locations. That's the stuff that matters, because people are finding quality hires on Indeed right now as we speak, as we're having this conversation, because in the minute or so that we've been talking, companies like your own have made 27 hires on Indeed. That according to Indeed data worldwide. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing the candidates that matter, the ones who check all those boxes without the stress, without the time consumption, and a whole lot more results on top of that as well. Listeners of this show, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get that premium status up to a premium status, that listing to the premium status, the one that it deserves, of course, at Indeed.com/podcast. One more time, Indeed.com/podcast. As always, shout out to Indeed Sponsored Jobs for giving the show love as well. All right, we are 1 week removed from the start of free agency, which of course means we have all of life's problems and things figured out when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs. My wife makes fun of me because she watches the program. Shout out to my wife. But whenever we do these quick hitter segments, we call it rapid fire. She's like, "That's not rapid fire at all."
It's not too long.
It's not. I mean, that's when you put 3 quick hitters in there. That's what it's supposed to be. When you got 3 guys who like to talk, nothing very rapid about it. So we'll.
All right, we're locked in now, Mrs. Viera.
Yes,
we're locked in. Rapid fire, locked in, ready to go.
Okay. So the first one I'm going to hit you with.
Me?
Yes, you.
Okay.
Yes, you, because you said you're locked in first.
No, I locked in.
I didn't say I'm locked in yet. Locked
Lock
on, not locked in. Not locked in. All right. Matthew Tynan, who is the best offseason move for the San Antonio Spurs?
Tobias Harris, easy peasy. Addresses a need that a big need, really, with a versatile offensive player, a guy who is very solid defensively as a team defender. Maybe he doesn't quite stretch the floor at that like 40% type of level that you're looking for. But in terms of when the offense dies, when things start to dry up on that side of the floor, he is a guy that can go get you a bucket. And beyond that, he can be a connective piece out of the pick and roll. As a short, whether it's handling the ball or out of the post, he gives them some extra connectivity on top of the scoring. And then, very importantly, a very good defensive rebounder. Tobias Harris, easy peasy.
Go ahead, Devin. We'll let you chime in there too. Defeating the purpose of rapid fire here. I know. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, Tobias Harris. Wearing
your old number, Devin.
Yes.
Wearing number 23.
And I love the chatter about who's the best to ever wear it. Hey, I love that. I love our fans, man. I love our fans. I'll tell you that. I love our fans. But so Tobias Harris in the sense that, yes, he's going to help us out defensively. Matt, I do think that he's going to stretch the floor a little bit. He will shoot the three a lot more than he did in Detroit, just because it's within the offense. But I think his veteran leadership in the locker room is going to be a big, big key to the Spurs getting back to where they finished last year.
Is it going out on a limb for me to say Billy Donovan?
No, it's a good. I think it's a little bit of a limb because the players got to win the game, but no, it's a huge addition.
I think it's Billy Donovan more so because I feel like there's just a level of just professionalism that they need on the bench on that time. What on earth was that? was that on Tynan's side? I don't know.
I don't
Where
think
did
so.
that come from? I don't know. Anyway,
Ghost.
Yeah. Was that on Devin's side? Oh, we lost Devin. Devin froze. Okay.
The ghost has taken Devin.
The ghost has taken Devin. That
Devin has been haunted.
All right, we'll let Devin figure that out. That was unique. All right. The Billy Donovan thing, I feel like is something that's going to be impactful because they needed a little bit of that coming onto the bench, just that seniority, so to speak, to level things out. Just an extra voice behind Mitch Johnson, who's been there, who's done that, all that stuff. I'm going to go with Billy Donovan for that one. Second thing I have for you. Tarris Reed will establish himself as the most impactful player of the Spurs rookie class in 2026-27.
Me or Devin?
Devin went last, so
okay, fine. Of this rookie class for like this season upcoming?
Yes.
Yeah, then for sure. I mean, I think he's the guy who's most ready to play. He gives you some stuff that translates, typically at least, translates really well from college to the pros, especially with guys who have been at the collegiate level for 4 years. 22 years old, going to be 23 at the start of the season. Rebounds, sets screens, plays defense. A high IQ type of player. So yeah, I mean, I think that Tarris Reed is for sure going to be the rookie who has the most immediate impact for these guys this season.
We're good,
All
Devin?
right. Yeah. My audio, I don't know what's going on, but so most important rookie, correct?
Yes.
This season.
I don't want y'all disrespecting my guy Q.
Okay.
You know, I know he's in a body bag right now.
Okay.
But you know, I can't agree with everything Matt says. You know, I gotta go with my guy coming off the injury. I'm gonna say Q. Just so me and Matt have something to argue with.
Yeah, you got to ask Devin first this time because now you're putting.
My man. You know, normally you get 2 to 4 weeks. My man's 6 to 8 months, but when he comes back, he'll be ready to go.
Got to get out of that body bag somehow, right?
You got to get out of there. We didn't draft him that high for no reason.
I think that is going to be interesting to see how they play that out, though, because if they get to a point where they really need something like at that spot where they could say they get to January, not that they're going to expedite the process if he's not actually healthy, but in terms of really giving him quality, impactful minutes as opposed to slowly just trying to, you know, acclimate him with the extent of it being like, you know, the context of at least of him just being a luxury to have at some point. But to think that stretch, that 4 stretch 5, so to speak, or just that small ball 4, or small ball 5, whatever you want to call it, if that actually becomes a thing of note going forward that they want to do, or kind of go back to the redshirt year. If anything, it feels like it's going to be more of a redshirt year than not from the way they've made it out. But we'll see. All right, the reason
Casey.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. To your point. You got 2 different guys there, and right now Tarris is balling in wherever they are, California, Vegas, Salt Lake, wherever they are. He's balling right now. Now, you add Q to that situation, you have two guys that are going to put a lot of pressure on Kornet. And I think Kornet needs that because he didn't feel that last year. He felt like, okay, I'm going to go in there for Wemby. They don't have anything else. Shout out to Biz. Shout out to Plumlee. But he didn't feel that. So now you have two young guys that are going to apply that pressure that Kornet may need to put him over the top.
All right. I saved this one for Devin because I know he'll appreciate it.
Saved it for you.
Saved this one because Tynan was asking why you went you first twice.
Yeah, I got to go opposite Devin.
So
Whatever
we'll
this is, I got to go opposite Devin.
I know we say this a lot in jest when it comes to this gentleman, but the Spurs' faith in De'Aaron Fox should be encouraging going into 26-27.
My man just went all business-like to the Yee concert. Had a suit on,
To the
you
Kanye
know.
concert.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kanye concert. Sorry for our viewers, Kanye. Yeah, of course. Hey, listen, I don't know how they're moving around San Antonio right now. I know it's got to be tough, you know, because we got a lot of great fans here, things like that. But at the end of the day, they appreciate what it is that he brings to the team. But yeah, 26-27, hey, I feel like he feels like there's something to prove. So why not come in here, have a great year, and get San Antonio back behind you?
Man, of course I say I'm going to go opposite Devin. And the question you ask is about De'Aaron Fox. And I was the only guy on this panel putting a cape on for that dude all season. And now I got to go against it. And I genuinely, though, there is a certain amount of pressure on De'Aaron coming into this season. Like, we can look back at the playoff run and we can talk about the injury, which was a real thing. And like, you could absolutely tell that there was a drop off following the ankle sprain. But now you got Dylan Harper on the come up. You got Steph Castle continuing to develop. There is a lot of pressure on De'Aaron coming into this season because we know now that success isn't going to be measured by how well you play during the regular season anymore. Like, that's out the window. This is championship or bust at this point, realistically speaking. I know maybe not realistically speaking is the wrong way to put it. There are all sorts of different.
Probably realistically speaking.
I'm saying that we tend to be hyperbolic with that stuff. You know, it's like the Giannis question a couple of years ago when he was asked, "Is it a failure just because you didn't win the title?" And Giannis was like, "That's so extreme. Like, not everybody wins the title every year." You know what I mean? So I'm just being hyperbolic.
Got it.
But there is a lot of pressure on him, and it's not just for his place in San Antonio, but like the potential for what like the next landing spot might even be. Mm-hmm. We just spent a whole bunch of time earlier in this show talking about the contracts that are coming up, and he's already part of that. His max kicks in this upcoming season. Not unlike Victor, unlike Steph, unlike Dylan. His max kicks in now. So, like, there's a ton of pressure on him to perform, to get that ring that he came to San Antonio to help get, to help Victor get, all of the above. So there's a lot of pressure on that dude coming into this season, for sure.
Would you say he faces the most pressure of anyone on this team? And I guess kind of the pressure is a different sort of pressure because really it's him or Victor. But it's
always going to be Victor at this point. Like, Victor created that. Like, Victor the pressure is now squarely on him. And I think he established that just given the way he performed all the way through the postseason. And then we saw, yes, I know De'Aaron Fox caught a lot of flack after his performance in that final game. But like the heap of the attention, negative or positive, was on Victor. So, and just because of who he is and the fact that he's out here campaigning that he should be MVP and Defensive Player of the Year and First Team All-NBA and all of the above, he wants it all. He's come out and been public about that. Like, just because of those elements of things, and he's putting the pressure on himself, which he doesn't care about. He wants that. But in general, it's Victor, but then it's probably De'Aaron second. Like I said, people just, they cannot They can't ignore the money part of this. It's just a part of the league now. And the fact that they were relying on him in the finals, and he had a really tough, especially tough last game and a half. Like the second half of game 4, and then pretty much the entirety of game 5, it was just tough. And that's going to require a bounce back, especially when he knows that he's got the young guards sort of breathing down his neck for that spot.
Yeah, definitely. I say Victor is going to have a lot of pressure on him because he just completely blew up Minnesota's team. There's other teams in the West that are stacking up because they're going to have to deal with not only Victor, but the other Spurs as well. But, when you see, teams moving like this, they know what they're loading up for, and they're loading up for the San Antonio Spurs, and Victor's behind all of that. And when you say, more pressure with him or De'Aaron Fox, I mean, De'Aaron Fox, everybody, now the money kicks in. So now everybody's going to be focused on that and watching him play and the way he's going to carry himself. So, really, for me, you go Victor, but 1A would be De'Aaron Fox.
All right, almost time for us to get out of here. But before we do, I wanted to touch on something that an Oscar-nominated actor suggested. He wants to play Greg Popovich. Which actor I'm referring to, and whether or not we buy in on the idea of it. Coming up on the other side of a quick break right here on the Spurs Squad Show on Locked On Spurs. All right. So you guys know Jesse Eisenberg. You know this guy? Bring up his picture.
Yes.
You might have seen his handiwork. Social Network. He was Zuckerberg in that. He was in one of the Batman, Superman movies, Zombieland, right? With Woody Harrelson. He was pretty funny in that as well. He, in an interview with TheWrap.com, was asked what his dream role would be. And his dream role would be Greg Popovich. He called him the most fascinating person on the planet. And I quote, "Here's this tough coach who cries sometimes and talks about the plight of America, and yet he's also this terrifying figure who can be so mean to journalists. People like that are fascinating because, on the one hand, they're known to be very nasty, and on the other hand, they're these bleeding hearts." All right. Are we going to see a biopic about Greg Popovich with Jesse Eisenberg as the lead? Go ahead, Tynan.
Okay. I was gonna give Devin the leeway here because he's been around the man before, and I am just imagining what his reaction would be if you were in the locker room with him right now, Devin, and you told him, "Hey, do you know this actor? He wants to play you in a movie." And I'm just imagining the various ways Pop would respond to that and laughing at every single one of them.
Well, he'd say, "Devin, we got to find this guy so we can go both punch him." I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. Because you agree with some of the stuff that he's saying, but then the other stuff, it's like, hey, man, listen, we're NBA players, we're NBA coaches. Some of this stuff is an act. All right? We all want to act one day, right? Pop wants to act. I know he says some things to journalists, but at the end of the day, Pop's a great guy. Shout out to this, whoever that is. You missed me with all 3 movies or whatever you were reading. I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, you don't bother me either way. He's just kind of one of those guys who's just kind of there for me.
Yeah. And so, you appreciate the fact that he wants to play Pop, but I'm not familiar with this gentleman. And some of the stuff he's saying about Pop, I'm like, well, I haven't seen that. The yelling part, I've seen that. But other than that, no.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much the public in general is aware, how much they're aware is a shtick with Pop or was a shtick. Like how much of it was it's not all acting. There are definitely times where he'd get upset or there would be like a particular journalist that he just really didn't care for very much. and he'd kind of pick on him over and over again. But for the most part, like, that was just kind of his shtick. And I'm not sure how much of that the public in general is aware. But I think that just telling Greg Popovich that, and I hope someone has, maybe we'll get a chance here in our next media availability to ask if anybody told Pop if Jesse Eisenberg said he wants to play him in a biopic. I would love to know what his reaction to something like that might be.
Can I say this?
Say it.
I think you guys you'll like this. So obviously my first year with having Dave on my left side in the locker room, both places, practice facility and the game place, and having
the arena?
Tim on my right. When Pop would do all that yelling, I'd get up. When Pop would leave to go to his room, I'd get up and I'm like, you two need to get it together and walk off. They'd love that.
Someone in the comments, Lil Mac McMo, to be specific, suggested Danny Trejo should play Pop.
Danny Trejo.
The big, intimidating Mexican guy from, Machete? And then
Machete.
In Sin City as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be something. Pop. That would be something.
Hispanic Greg Popovich.
Hispanic Greg Popovich. All right, that's our cue.
Yeah, it's good. That's our cue.
That's a good place to leave it. Good stuff tonight, gentlemen. Tynan will be back. He's got you covered on the title pod. So were we afternoon or we AM tomorrow?
We're going afternoon lately. Like, we've just felt we've been going live a little bit more. We've found that a lot more people are able to join in the afternoons. So we've been kind of sticking with the afternoon model. We'll see how it goes for a while during the summer months here.
And you're live again?
Most of the time. It kind of depends. So you'll just have to just figure it out from day to day. If we're feeling, generally speaking, we like to go live unless it requires some different level of organization. We will, in all likelihood, be going. Or if I'm by myself and I don't have Tyler, the producer, with me, then I typically record. But we are going live as much as possible.
Keep the notifications on.
That's right.
Midpoint, some point in the afternoon tomorrow. Three of us, we're going to be getting together again Thursday, 9:15, same time. Talking a little bit more summer league. Somebody else decides they want to play Greg Popovich in a film as well in response to Jesse Eisenberg.
Actually, y'all have y'all's responses ready because I want to go live with Squad Show on Thursday, and all I want to see is candidates to play in the comments before we even get started. Who's playing Greg Popovich in a biopic? Best answers, worst answers, I don't care. That's just what I would love to see.
And we're going to flatter Devin on our way out the door because someone said that you should be played by Michael B. Jordan. There you go.
There you go.
Nice.
That
Nice.
is our cue. Time for us to go home. Appreciate you guys at home hanging out with us on a Tuesday, and we'll see you again Thursday, 9:15, right here on the Spurs Squad Show on Locked On Spurs. So, for Mr. NBA champion Devin Brown and the host of the title pod, Matthew Tynan, I'm Casey Viera. Appreciate you guys at home. Enjoy the rest of your week.